Dive into the shadows of the unknown with spooky tales. Get ready for spine-tingling stories, ghostly encounters, and hair-raising adventures that will send shivers down your spine. Join us for a journey into the supernatural and the unexplained. Are you brave enough to face the darkness? In our first episode, we take a look at a malevolent porcelain doll, try to figure out what made a town disappear, and determine why a coal miner went missing. Like and follow for more content and find us on the Y channel. In the heart of the American Southwest, nestled amidst the red rock canyons and desert landscapes, exists a place of enchantment and mystery. It is Arches National Park, where the very earth itself seemed to defy gravity and time. Its story is one of geological wonders and ancient spirits. Arches National Park is a realm of surreal beauty, a sanctuary of sandstone formations sculpted by the hands of Mother Nature herself. Within its boundaries, visitors could find some of the most iconic natural arches in the world, each a masterpiece of erosion, wind, and time. Delicate arch, landscape arch, and twisted donut arch were just a few of the enchanting formations that beckon travelers from near and far. But Arches National Park holds secrets beyond its stunning scenery. Legends whispered of supernatural phenomena, of vengeful spirits bound to the land, and of ancient rituals hidden among the petroglyphs. Beneath the starry desert skies, supernatural encounters were not uncommon, and those who ventured into the park's remote corners often found themselves touched by forces beyond comprehension. In this realm of natural wonders and enigmatic legends, we embark on a journey to explore the mysteries of Arches National Park during today's episode. It is a place where the boundaries between the ordinary and the extraordinary blur, and where the whispers of the past still echo through the canyons. Let us venture forth, for in the heart of the desert, where rocks defy gravity and spirits roam, the story of Arches National Park awaits. Surreal rock formations and eerie beauty held a secret few knew about. It was said that beneath the famous landscape arch, a place known for its fragile and graceful span, a chilling tale of the supernatural unfolded. The hike to Landscape Arch typically begins at the Devil's Garden Trailhead, an ominous location in its own right, which is located at the northern end of the park. This trailhead is easily accessible by car and is one of the most popular starting points for exploring the Devil's Garden area. That's exactly why our group of hikers selected this location for a quick nighttime adventure. On a moonless night, our hikers embarked on a trek to see the arch in a different light. Hoping to score spectacular low-light photography, they followed the trail through the labyrinthine canyons, their flashlights piercing the darkness as they navigated the winding path. Arriving at Landscape Arch, they were awed by its delicate, sinuous form, stretching like a spectral bridge across the desolate terrain. The arch seemed to glow faintly in the moonlight, casting eerie shadows that danced on the sandstone walls. As they stood beneath the arch, a cold wind blew through the canyon, carrying with it whispers of a ghostly presence. The hikers brushed it off as a trick of the wind, but their unease grew as they heard faint, mournful wails that seemed to echo from the rocks themselves. They ignored the whispers and busied themselves with setting up their photo equipment for what they expected to be amazing time-lapse photography in the pitch black with nothing but stars lighting scenery within this amazing arch. Suddenly, the arch began to tremble. It was as if the very ground beneath their feet was quaking. Panic surged through the group as they realized that landscape arch, a symbol of enduring beauty, was collapsing before their eyes. They ran for their lives, stumbling through the darkness as the arch crumbled behind them. Dust and debris filled the air as they reached safety just in time to witness the arch's collapse, its delicate structure disintegrating into a cloud of dust. Exhausted and shaken, the hikers returned to their campsite, convinced that they had witnessed a supernatural event. At the ranger station, the park rangers were skeptical when they heard the tale, but they also knew that an earthquake wouldn't have simply happened in that localized area. Fracking didn't happen in or near national parks. Could a pocket of underground gas been disturbed and possibly ignited into a small explosion? And of course, the rangers also suspected that many of the hikers did something to destroy this natural wonder. Rangers and experts would have to investigate to understand what happened. There were so many questions with no answers. Days later, a team of experts examined the rubble of Landscape Arch, searching for a geological explanation. To their surprise, they uncovered a series of ancient petroglyphs etched into the rock beneath the arch's former location. The petroglyphs told a story of an ancient tribe that had revered Landscape Arch as a portal to the spirit world. Legend had it that the arch was a fragile bridge between the living and the dead, and disturbing it would bring forth the wrath of vengeful spirits. The collapse of Landscape Arch was seen as a warning, an act of supernatural retribution for trespassing into the sacred realm of the ancient tribe. The petroglyphs spoke of appeasement, of rituals to soothe the spirits and restore the arch to its former glory. The experts, being believers of science, could not allow themselves to believe the stories told within the petroglyphs. Rituals can't make this rubble go away. Arches National Park was forever changed by the chilling events at Landscape Arch. The fragile beauty of the arch remained a haunting reminder of the powerful forces, both natural and supernatural, that dwelled within the park's ancient canyons and rock formations. As grumblings began to move through the hiking community, our adventure seekers heard about the experts' findings. Could they make this right? The group, being somewhat local, decided to investigate for themselves as they were forever changed by the happenings of that dark night. The group set out on a path of personal redemption and restoration upon the discovery of ancient petroglyphs. Studying the petroglyphs, the group learned that it conveyed a message of appeasement, of rituals to soothe the vengeful spirits and bring back the arch to its former glory. The group knew they would need help to fix the imbalance between our world and that of the spirit world. They consulted with local Native American tribes, who had preserved the knowledge of ancient rituals and ceremonies. Under the guidance of tribal elders, a group of hikers prepared to perform the ritual of restoration, a ceremony that would seek forgiveness from the spirits and seek to rebuild Landscape Arch. The elders explained that the spirits were not malicious but had been awakened by the disturbance caused by the hikers' presence. The group and elders gathered at the site where Landscape Arch once stood 1 year prior on a moonless night. They brought with them offerings of sacred herbs, feathers, and other symbolic items that held spiritual significance. These offerings were meant to appease the spirits and demonstrate their respect for the natural world. They also brought a longing of hope and a desire for forgiveness. A sacred fire was lit, and the smoke wafted into the air, carrying the prayers and intentions of those present. The elders led the group in chants and songs that resonated with the spirits of the land, seeking their forgiveness and understanding. With smudging bundles of sage and sweetgrass, they cleansed themselves and the area, purifying their intentions and creating an environment of spiritual harmony. The elders offered blessings in their native tongue, their voices carrying the weight of tradition and reverence. The symbolic offerings were placed at the site, a gesture of gratitude for the lessons learned and a promise to honor the land and its spirits in the future. Each participant offered their own heartfelt prayers for forgiveness and healing, along with sharing their fondest memories made within the national park. With the ceremony complete, the group takes on the physical work of reconstruction. They carefully examined the fallen stones and documented their original positions, determined to rebuild the arch with the same stones in their original order. Over the course of several weeks, the team painstakingly reassembled the fallen pieces of Landscape Arch during their days off, guided by their meticulous records and the hope that the spirits would accept their efforts as a sincere act of restitution. As the final stones were put in place, a sense of anticipation filled the air. The sun bathed the reconstructed arch in a warm, golden light, casting long shadows across the desert landscape. Suddenly, a gentle breeze stirred, and the sound of faint whispers filled the canyon. It was as if the spirits were acknowledging the ceremony and the reconstruction. The air grew still, and a profound sense of peace descended upon the site. What was once broken was returned to its former state of being. The ritual of restoration had succeeded, and Landscape Arch stood once more in its full glory. The spirit world acknowledged the group's effort and desire to fix the situation for the future. The arch, once a symbol of collapse and mystery, was now a testament to the power of reconciliation and respect for the ancient spirits of the land. The hikers who had unwittingly set off the supernatural events left the park with a newfound appreciation for its spiritual significance. They, along with all who heard the tale, would forever be reminded that Arches National Park was not just a place of geological wonders but a sacred land where the bonds between the natural and the supernatural ran deep. The sun made its descent across the horizon, leaving behind the orange and pink hues and making room for the evening dark blues and purples. The desert moon hung low in the night sky, slowly casting eerie shadows over the rust-colored rock formations of Arches National Park as the sun disappeared. The air was still, save for a gentle breeze that rustled the dry brush and whispered secrets of ancient tales. A group of friends, eager for adventure and excited to have an extended weekend together, had set up camp near the famous Delicate Arch, their laughter and excitement echoing through the vast landscape. As the campfire crackled and stars blinked above, the group recounted stories of local legends. Among them was the tale of a ghostly figure that roamed the park, seeking something it had lost centuries ago. It was said that this spirit was trapped between realms, unable to find peace until its restless yearning was satisfied. Despite the chilling stories, the group's skepticism outweighed their fear. That is, until strange things began to unfold. As the night deepened, faint whispers carried on the wind seemed to weave through the campsite, their words incomprehensible yet laden with a palpable sadness. Nervous laughter turned to hushed conversations as unease settled over them like a heavy blanket. Was the group simply hearing voices carrying across the campsites, or was it something more sinister? Unfazed, one of the friends suggested a late-night hike to the Double Arch. With flashlights in hand, the group made their way to the well-maintained trailhead and then navigated the moonlit paths of the short hike. Eerie shadows appeared as they walked, thanks in part to the LED bulbs catching rocks and edges just right. As the temperature dropped, and the landscape around them seemed to transform, its beauty tainted by an unsettling presence. The promise of spectacular nighttime views urged them forward. Halfway to their destination, a distant figure caught their attention. It appeared to be a woman, her dress swaying in the wind as if she were dancing alone in the darkness. Intrigued yet cautious, the friends approached, their footsteps echoing loudly in the still night. As they neared the figure, they realized her face was obscured, her features hidden by a veil of shadow. Her presence seemed surreal, as though she were a mirage conjured by the desert's ancient spirits. With bated breath, they hesitated, unsure whether to continue or retreat. A soft, mournful melody carried through the air, its haunting tune both enchanting and chilling. The figure's hands moved gracefully, beckoning them closer. Drawn by a mixture of curiosity and an inexplicable connection, they stepped forward, their hearts pounding in their chests. The figure extended a hand, revealing a glint of moonlight on a silver locket. The friends exchanged nervous glances, their unease growing. With a silent understanding, they reached out and took the locket, feeling its weight and history in their hands. As the locket's latch sprang open, a burst of wind swirled around them, carrying with it a cascade of memories. Visions of a love lost in time. A tragic tale of a young woman torn between duty and desire. unfolded before their eyes. The figure, it seemed, was a manifestation of the spirit's longing, bound to the locket and its stories. The friends watched in awe as the figure's form began to fade, the desert wind carrying her away like a whisper. Left in its wake was a profound sense of sadness and understanding. The group returned to their campsite, their laughter replaced by contemplation. What had they just witnessed? As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, the friends packed up their belongings, leaving the locket behind at the campsite. They couldn't shake the feeling that they had witnessed something otherworldly, something that transcended time and space. Years later, the friends would return to Arches National Park, drawn by the memories of that fateful night. Though the locket and the figure were gone, the haunting melody of the desert wind remained, a reminder that some stories are etched into the very fabric of the land. And so, Arches National Park stood as a bridge between the realms of the living and the departed, where whispers of the past and the mysteries of the present converged in the shadow of the moonlit arches. Arches National Park was renowned for its otherworldly rock formations, and among the most enigmatic was Twisted Donut Arch, a natural wonder that beckoned adventurers and hikers alike. Captivating and unusual formations capture the imagination of all who visit. This natural wonder is a testament to the remarkable forces of erosion and time that have shaped the landscape of the park. It's a place where the past and present converge. On a sunny morning, a group of friends set out to explore this marvel, unaware that their journey would lead them to an encounter with a supernatural being. The day began with anticipation and excitement as they embarked on the trail leading to Twisted Donut Arch. The desert landscape stretched out before them, painted in hues of red and orange. The trail wound through towering sandstone walls and twisted juniper trees, their branches contorted by centuries of desert winds. As they hiked, they shared stories and laughter, their camaraderie echoing through the canyons. The sunlight filtered through the red rock formations, creating a mesmerizing play of shadows and light. It was a perfect day for adventure. But as they drew closer to Twisted Donut Arch, an unusual feeling descended upon the group. The air grew still, and a hushed silence enveloped them, despite the daylight. It was as if the very landscape held its breath. Their excitement began to wane as they approached the arch. Twisted Donut Arch was a spectacle to behold, a massive stone formation with a central hole that truly resembled a giant, petrified donut. But it was also an eerie sight, casting an odd and disconcerting shadow on the ground. As they stood beneath the arch, their voices fell to a whisper. It was then that they noticed an unusual figure standing just beyond the arch's opening. At first, they thought it was another hiker, but as they looked closer, they realized the figure was unlike anything they had ever seen. The being appeared human-like, but its features were ethereal and otherworldly. Its skin seemed to shimmer with a pale, iridescent glow, and its eyes held a deep, ancient wisdom that sent shivers down their spines. It wore robes that flowed like mist, and its long, translucent hair cascaded around it like a veil. Could this be the mysterious Lorwyn from their childhood campfire stories? They exchanged bewildered glances, unable to comprehend what they were witnessing. The being spoke, its voice a melodious, hypnotic cadence that resonated through the canyons. It introduced itself as a guardian spirit of the Arch, a protector of the land and its secrets. The spirit spoke of the ancient history of Arches National Park, of the tribes that once inhabited the region and the mystical energy that coursed through the rocks. It shared stories of forgotten rituals and lost traditions, and its words were like a tapestry weaving the past and present together. As the encounter unfolded, the group felt a profound sense of peace and reverence. The supernatural being's presence, though inexplicable, radiated a soothing energy that transcended the boundaries of the natural world. With a final, enigmatic smile, the spirit bid them farewell and retreated into the Arch, its form dissipating like morning mist. The group was left standing in awe, forever changed by their encounter with the supernatural being. Awestruck, they each gave thanks to Lorwyn. As they continued their hike, the eerie feeling that had accompanied them to Twisted Donut Arch lifted, replaced by a sense of wonder and gratitude. They left the Arch with a newfound appreciation for the mysteries of the natural world and the possibility that, even in the brightest of daylight, the boundaries between the ordinary and the extraordinary could blur in the heart of Arches National Park. Once upon a chilling autumn evening, when the moon hung low over Arches National Park, a group of adventurous friends embarked on a daring camping trip. Their destination? The infamous Courthouse Towers, an eerie rock formation that stood sentinel over the desolate beauty of Park Avenue. The towering structures of Courthouse Towers were grotesquely beautiful, with weathered sandstone surfaces that seemed to have been carved by the hands of spectral sculptors. The rocks were marred by mysterious pockmarks and crevices, lending them a surreal appearance that resembled petrified monsters frozen in time. As the friends pitched their tents beneath the sprawling, gnarled juniper trees, they couldn't ignore the eerie silence that enveloped the area. The branches contorted as if in agony, clung to life around the base of the towering formations. Their twisted forms added to the otherworldly aura of the place, casting eerie silhouettes in the moonlight. The wind whispered through the red rock canyons like ghostly sighs, and the night seemed darker than any they had ever experienced. The mournful cries, carrying with them secrets of the past. The canyons around Courthouse Towers seemed to have a life of their own, their depths shrouded in darkness. Sounds echoed strangely, as if voices from another realm were trapped within the stone. The echoes played tricks on the mind, making it difficult to discern what was real and what was imagined. As the friends gathered around a crackling campfire, they shared stories of local legends. One story, in particular, sent shivers down their spines. The tale of the phantom juror. According to local lore, an old courthouse once stood near Courthouse Towers. A tragic trial had taken place there decades ago, leading to the wrongful conviction and execution of an innocent man. Law was different then. Often the innocent were guilty until proven otherwise. Legend had it that the phantom juror's restless spirit still wandered the desolate canyons, seeking justice. Witnesses often described it as wearing tattered and faded clothing, reminiscent of an old-fashioned juror's attire. The group continued sharing stories mixed with fond memories, but as the night deepened, the group heard strange, echoing footsteps. Who else could have been near? They shone their flashlights into the darkness, but nothing was there. Heartbeats quickened, and a sense of dread settled over them like a shroud. Then, from the direction of Courthouse Towers, they heard a mournful wail. The wind carried an ethereal voice, almost like a lament. Fear gripped them as they huddled together, their flashlights trembling in their hands. In the distance, they saw a faint, ghostly figure walking towards them, carrying a lantern. It was said that the phantom juror carried this lantern to illuminate the path to justice. The phantom juror appeared as a translucent and ethereal figure, with a glowing, ghostly aura that seemed to emanate from its form. Its features were somewhat indistinct, as if the passage of time had blurred its appearance. Panic surged through the group as the apparition drew closer, its form translucent and glowing with an eerie light. Realization finally clicked with the group. Unable to contain their terror any longer, they fled their campsite, leaving behind their tents, belongings, and the sinister presence of Courthouse Towers. They ran through the night, back to the safety of their cars at the trailhead nearly a mile away. In the end, they couldn't be sure if it was a genuine encounter with the supernatural or a trick of their overactive imaginations. But one thing was certain. Park Avenue and Courthouse Towers had lived up to their reputation as one of the most haunted spots in Arches National Park, a place where the past and the present intertwined in ghostly tales that would continue to haunt them for years to come. It's the striking red rock formations of Arches National Park. There stood an iconic wonder known as balanced rock. This geological marvel, resembling a massive stone teetering precariously on a slender pedestal, had long captivated the imagination of visitors. However, there was a chilling legend associated with balanced rock, a tale whispered among park rangers and locals after sundown. Years ago, a local group of reckless young adult adventurers decided to test the limits of their courage. Being relatively new to the area, they hadn't heard the local lore. They would find out soon enough. Armed with flashlights and a daredevil spirit, they set out to conquer balanced rock at night. The enormous boulder loomed before them like a sentinel guarding a forbidden secret. As they scrambled up the rocky slope, the moon cast eerie shadows across the landscape. The air was heavy with an unnatural stillness. When they reached the towering monolith, they decided to go one step further. They would climb it, an act that defied common sense. With trembling hands and pounding hearts, they began their ascent. The night seemed to hold its breath as they reached the top, the view from the precipice breathtaking and terrifying in equal measure. They laughed and shouted, intoxicated by their audacity. The spirit world took offense at their extreme arrogance and had witnessed enough. Without warning, the ground trembled beneath them. Balanced rock, which had stood for centuries, began to wobble. Panic surged through their veins as they clung desperately to the unforgiving stone. The massive boulder leaned ominously, threatening to plunge them into the abyss below. Screaming in fear, they resigned that this would be their last day on Earth. But then, just as suddenly as it had started, the trembling ceased. Balanced rock settled back into place, as if it had never moved. The adventurers, shaken and white-faced, descended in haste, vowing never to return. Their encounter with balanced rock marked them in a way they couldn't understand. The experience haunted them for days, weeks, and years to come. Strange things began to happen around their lives. Unexplained shadows danced in the corners of their vision. Whispers filled their ears when no one was around. Nightmares haunted their sleep, featuring the terrifying image of balanced rock toppling over. Mental torment plagued them. One by one, the adventurers were consumed by an overwhelming sense of dread. Almost like they had succumbed to a deep depression. Individually, they sought the counsel of experts, who were baffled by their plight. It was when the group gathered to reminisce about their grown-up lives and ended up sharing their combined experiences at a local coffee shop. An old Moab local, a member of the beloved Ute tribe, told them of the curse of balanced rock after hearing their discussion. Concern and appreciation of the old ways filled the man's expression, knowing how the spirit world would have reacted. He spoke and shared that the stone harbored an ancient and vengeful spirit. It tolerated no disrespect, and the climber's audacious act had clearly awakened its wrath. The spirit, bound to the rock for eternity, cursed those who dared to defy its dominion. The elder urged the group to return to balanced rock with a clear heart and mind to make peace with the spirit and ask for forgiveness. The group didn't want to believe the old man at the time, but within weeks, the curse tightened its grip with additional hauntings. One by one, the adventurers realized they had only one hope for salvation: they must return to balanced rock together, apologize to the spirit, and beg for forgiveness. Taking this event very seriously, the group once again gathered at the coffee shop in hopes that the elder would make his way at the same time for his morning coffee so the group could seek his advice. It took several mornings of stopping by, but the friends and the elder finally met together. It was almost as if the elder was avoiding them on purpose. They sat and listened as the elder shared how to clear their hearts and minds. They must be 100% faithful in their attempt to make peace. If there was any hesitation or any lack of maturity, the spirit would know. The group then took the steps outlined by the elder and settled on a date to hopefully clear their fate. Their journey back into Arches National Park was filled with trepidation as they ventured to Balanced Rock, but they knew it was their only chance to break the curse. Their apology would last for several hours through the night. In the shadow of Balanced Rock on a clear night with a breathtaking full moon in the background, they knelt and spoke their apologies, their voices trembling with sincerity. The night air seemed to hold its breath once more. Then, as the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, they felt a sense of release, as if an ancient curse had been lifted. Tears of thanks filled each friend's eyes. Balanced Rock, once a symbol of terror, became a testament to the power of forgiveness. The adventurers left Arches National Park forever changed, their respect for the natural world and its mysteries forever deepened by their harrowing encounter with the legendary curse of Balanced Rock. They are forever grateful for the help of the elder. A group of friends had been planning a camping trip at Arches National Park for months, and the day was finally here. The sun had already begun its descent when the group of friends arrived at Devil's Garden. Their journey had been long and tiring, but the promise of adventure and the allure of the remote campsite kept their spirits high. The group had come seeking an escape from the demands of their busy lives. Little did they know that they would soon be escaping from a terrifying adventure. As they pitched their tents on a sandy clearing nestled amidst towering sandstone walls and gnarled juniper trees, created a spooky aura. The walls seemed as if they were suffocating the campsite. The ancient juniper trees, their branches twisted into grotesque shapes, cast long, unsettling shadows in the fading light. The rustling leaves created ghostly whispers in the wind that seemed to carry secrets of the desert. As they set up camp, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Every now and then, they caught glimpses of movement in their peripheral vision, but when they turned to look, there was nothing there. It must have just been their overactive imaginations. Their campfire crackled to life, illuminating their surroundings with a warm, flickering light. They shared stories and laughter, trying to dispel the unease that hung in the air. But even as they sat around the fire, the feeling of being observed lingered. As night fell and the stars began to appear, they heard strange sounds in the distance. Unearthly moans and eerie cries that seemed to emanate from the very rocks and canyons that surrounded them. The friends exchanged nervous glances, their bravado waning. With a shiver, one of them mentioned the legends of Devil's Garden, stories of lost souls and vengeful spirits. They laughed it off as superstition, but deep down, a sense of foreboding settled in their hearts. Despite the unsettling atmosphere, they retired to their tents, determined to enjoy their weekend escape. Little did they know that the true horrors of Devil's Garden were yet to reveal themselves, lurking in the shadows of the rugged landscape. Morning bathed Devil's Garden in an ethereal, golden light, lending an air of tranquility to the campsite. The group awoke with a sense of optimism, attributing their unease on the previous night to fatigue and the unfamiliar surroundings. They had come to explore the unique rock formations, and nothing would deter them from their adventure. After a hearty breakfast, they set out on the trails that meandered through the garden's surreal landscape. They marveled at the sandstone arches, each one more breathtaking than the last, and explored hidden alcoves where ancient petroglyphs adorned the walls. The natural beauty of the place was awe-inspiring, and they couldn't help but be captivated by the twisted juniper trees, their contorted forms seeming to tell tales of centuries of survival in the harsh desert environment. But as the day wore on and they ventured deeper into the heart of Devil's Garden, a disconcerting sense of disorientation began to creep in. The trails, marked only by cairns and faded signs, seemed to shift and change, leading them astray. The group found themselves on paths they hadn't intended to take, and the markers they had followed had vanished. Frustration mingled with growing anxiety as they realized that they were well and truly lost in the labyrinthine garden. Despite their best efforts, they couldn't find their way back to the main trail. The landscape appeared to conspire against them, with rock formations shifting and appearing different from every angle. It was as if the very land was playing tricks on them, toying with their sense of direction. Eventually, exhausted and unnerved, they stumbled upon a hidden alcove. Its walls were adorned with ancient petroglyphs, which told a story they couldn't decipher. The figures and symbols seemed to speak of an ancient curse, a malevolent spirit bound to the land by a forgotten tribe. Shivers ran down their spines as they read the chilling tale, and they couldn't help but wonder if their disorienting experience was somehow linked to the curse. Their unease deepened as they realized that the following night would be a moonless one, the time the legend warned the spirit would awaken. As they left the alcove and continued their search for the main trail, they couldn't shake the feeling that unseen eyes were watching their every move. The day that had started with so much promise was now filled with a growing sense of foreboding, and the group couldn't help but wonder what other mysteries Devil's Garden held in its rocky embrace as they bedded down for the night without returning to their main camping area. The group awoke to a chill in the air in the darkness of night, and the sense of unease that had haunted them the previous day had intensified. Sleep had been fitful, with restless dreams that seemed to echo the eerie whispers of the night before. As they gathered around the campfire to prepare breakfast and start their day before daybreak, they discussed their options. Leaving Devil's Garden immediately was tempting, but the fear of getting lost in the maze-like trails without full daylight held them back. They also had no other place to stay for the following evening before they were scheduled to catch their flights out of Salt Lake City. Eventually, they decided to stay one more night, against their instincts, hoping that the feelings of dread were merely a product of their imagination. The night was easing into day, and the group realized that the chill in the air, and the sense of unease that had haunted them the previous day had intensified even more. The group gathered their items and started on the day's hike back to their campsite. However, the group couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Occasionally, they heard faint, distant whispers again that seemed to ride on the wind. Every shadow, every rustling leaf, seemed to take on a sinister significance. Eventually, they were able to return to the original campsite, which provided them a sense of calm. As sun dipped below the horizon, casting the campsite into an oppressive darkness. With a sense of growing dread, they gathered around the campfire once more. The night was moonless, and the inky blackness seemed to press in from all sides. Then, it began. A faint, ghostly whisper, barely audible, echoed through the campsite. The group exchanged nervous glances, their flashlights trembling in their hands. The sound grew louder, as if the very rocks and canyons were whispering secrets they were not meant to hear. The shadows danced in eerie patterns, and strange figures seemed to emerge from the darkness, their forms shifting and elusive. The group's heartbeats quickened, and panic threatened to overwhelm them as they realized they were not alone. From the depths of the garden, grotesque, shadowy figures advanced toward the campfire, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. The group's screams filled the night as they scrambled to their feet, abandoning their tents and belongings. With terror coursing through their veins, they ran blindly through the labyrinthine trails, pursued by the relentless spirits of Devil's Garden. The darkness was all-encompassing, and the wails of the ancient curse echoed in their ears. Hours later, they emerged from Devil's Garden, breathless and traumatized. At this point, they would happily sleep overnight in their vehicles far from this trail. The campsite, once a haven of beauty, had become a place of unspeakable horror. The legends of vengeful spirits and ancient curses had been all too real, and the group would carry the scars of their weekend in Devil's Garden with them for the rest of their lives. For more spine-tingling stories and explorations of the unknown, be sure to subscribe to Spooky Tales. Join us as we continue to navigate the thin line between reality and the supernatural.